So good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our webinar this afternoon. I'm Natalie Simms, and I'm going to be running this webinar for you today on our subject of what is your business really worth. By way of quick introduction, I'm the owner and head coach here at Action Coach, Winchester, Basingstoke and Farnborough. I'm going to give a little bit more background on me and on Action Coach as we kind of get more into our topic into the slide. So I do expect that this will take about 45 minutes to 50 minutes in terms of presentation. So that will leave us some time at the end where Vicky's going to keep an eye on the chat. And if there are questions that you want to put to me, then we can cover those at the end. So what is today's webinar really about, given it's about what is your business really worth? Well, what I want for each of you is to have a business that's not only profitable and that works consistently for your customers, but also importantly works without you. And so therefore, I don't know how comfortable or uncomfortable this might be for you, but I want you to get to the stage, show you today how you can achieve that, of making yourself your business isn't dependent upon you. Because the reality is businesses that are dependent upon the business owner can, first instance, not be very attractive to future purchasers. And secondly, can mean, even if they are, that you don't get the best value possible for your business. And we, of course, want you to have the best possible value from all of your efforts, all of your blood, sweat and tears that you've invested into your business, and you will continue over the future years as well. So what we are going to do today is to really work through the steps that you can go through to build up your profits and to build up the multiples that you can expect, given your industry and your sector, that a future prospective buyer could give you for your business. So really get you to the stage where you do have the most valuable business that you can possibly have in your industry and given your sector. So we're actually going to work through, and I'm going to show you, a working example of how we can grow the profits and at the same time grow those multiples. And what is going to be key to this is considering time as well. Time is our most valuable asset, and I'm going to talk about time a little bit in a moment as well. But what we're going to be talking about today is we're not going to put these changes in place overnight. So let's use the time that we have got available to, week on week, month on month, year on year, put in place all the things we're going to step through today. And as we're doing so, enjoy seeing your profits grow and those multiples increase as well. So time is a huge factor in what we're going to be talking about. Now, what we're not specifically going to get into is any minutiae about business valuation. If you Google today's webinar title, instantly will come up half a dozen good business valuation calculation sites. Fundamentally, they're going to ask you for what your profit is, what your industry sector is, what your revenue is, and it will give you an initial valuation back. In terms of profit, it might ask you for your earnings before interest and net profit, before interest and tax is taken out. So you might see terms like that being used on those sites when you're entering your profit figures. But fundamentally, they're going to want to know what your profit is. Now, a word of warning with those sites is what they're going to come back with is the best valuation possible, given those multiples for your industry. But as per today's topic, if you don't have the right things in place, then when you start due diligence with any prospective buyers, what they're obviously going to naturally do, find things are missing, find a business that's possibly dependent on you, and that valuation is going to come down. So what these sites will do, they're very helpful. They'll give you a sense of what's the kind of best valuation you can achieve in your industry, in your profit now. But of course, we're going to be talking about growing your profits as well as the multiples. So what I am going to do today is I'm going to talk you through the steps you can take by using the Action Coach framework that's on the slide here in front of you right now. So I'm going to talk about the foundations you can put in place, how you can go about building a really great sales and marketing engine, how you can go about putting in place the most effective systems, and putting in place that really great team structure. And what we have in Action Coach working through this model, when you reach that team stage and you've got somebody in place running the business, not you, then you've reached that really good position of having a business that can work without you. Now, many of our clients go on to beyond that, then scale the business even further. But what we're going to focus on today is using those first 4 steps to help you build, the most valuable business you can over the time frame that you're looking for. We're going to talk about time in a moment. So every word on this slide is important. We talk to things like eliminate chaos, and then we're going to talk about those multiple as well. But let's look at this purely from the perspective of a buyer, a potential purchaser. Because, if you haven't got the right foundations in place, just like if you don't have the right foundations of a building, then everything you're building on top of it is clearly going to be unstable. What it means also from, running a business perspective is all the foundational elements, which I'm going to talk you through what you do need to have in place, but everything that's absent, consider that it's going to show as chaos within your business. So that might be chaos within your financial management, within how you're dealing with time and productivity, in how you're planning the business and setting goals. All these things, if you don't have them in place in the right way, are going to be introducing chaos within your business. And it's absolutely going to mean that those multiples that we're talking about you can achieve are going to be very low. And potentially, if you've got not a lot of these things in place, fundamentally your business may right now not be worth anything. A future business owner may not give you any value directly just for selling the business as it currently is today, working critically with you. So what we want for you is to have the right foundations in place, not have that chaos, start to grow the multiples that you're worth. We want you to have great sales and marketing in place. With that, you build up predictable cash flow. What purchasers are looking for is that predictable cash flow, the evidence that it is repeatable. It isn't, a one-night wonder. It's not something that's here today, but it's not been in the past. And they're certainly looking to demonstrate that predictable profits that you have in the future without you. We're also looking for a business that's systematized. We're going to talk about how you go about systematizing your business, because firstly, you get an efficient business as a result of systems. Also, a prospective buyer's then got something that they can really take hold of and know that they can run, that they just have to run those systems with the team that you're going to leave them in place. If that business is dependent upon you and not systems, then of course they're going to look at that and see that, that's not a valuable business for them to take on. We also want the right team structure in place. We're going to talk about the kind of team structure that you do need to have in place, because with that right team structure, that right layer of management beneath you, then you're going to be in a position that you can develop that management team, develop somebody or find somebody that's going to be the future managing director of this business. So without these things in place, the value of your business is potentially worth nothing. It might be worth multiples of 1 or 2, but get these things in place. Depending upon your industry sector, there are many industry sectors where multiples of 6 or 7 are very achievable. Then you will be able to progressively, over time, by putting these things in place, command those higher multiples. But we'll talk more about multiples as we get further into today's presentation. We're going to go through each of these 4 steps. I'm going to show you how you can, by implementing those things within those steps, how you can really improve those multiples well as grow your profits. So let's first of all look at time. I've talked about how we've got time on our side to put these things in place. But what's really important is that we make use of that time that we do have. So all we're trying to do on this particular graphic is demonstrate that the time that we've already spent, is time in the past. So this is kind of representing somebody who's 40 years old, may have a life expectancy up to 100 years, possibly more, 80, 85 years realistically. To a 40-year-old person, that might look like there's still, a lot of time ahead of them, and hopefully there is. If you're further up the grid here, another 10, 20 years, of course, more of that time is behind you and less of it's in front of you. However, we've all got to consider that we need to take from this, kind of deduct from that available time, the time that's not really time we can productively spend in our businesses. We all need to sleep. We all need to do a variety of these things as well. And I'm absolutely not saying, I don't want you to have a good work-life balance. I absolutely do. While we're building these valuable businesses, I also want you to be in a position of enjoying your life, actually living life and not just working to live. So I'm absolutely not saying these things are not important, but what I'm saying is you don't have a great deal of time left to productively work on developing your business. What you do have left, you've got to really take control of. Now, if you consider that the majority of the time ahead of us, we're not going to control much more than the next 5 years. We can probably all predict the next 5-year period. We're only talking right now through to the end of 2027, if we're looking at a 5-year time frame. So let's take control of the next 5 years, is my real message behind this screen. Let's take action today and let's start to onboard the learnings from today and start to implement things that we're about to talk through. Because this time will go. Time is our greatest asset. We can always make more money, but we can never get back the time that's gone. So I just thought, before getting you to think about what your time frame is, let's also think a little bit about what's your destination. So these are a range of my clients, all different industries and different sizes and different stages of maturity as well. The majority of my clients are preparing that moment when they can start to seek purchases for their business. So their meaningful event is that future sale of their business, and that's going to be their exit. I've certainly got one client amongst the clients represented here that have been going for 20 years. And the two founders are actually setting up an employee trust. So they're not looking to sell the business to external buyers. They're actually looking to transfer the shares for obviously the right value to their employees, to their management team and other people as part of that employees group. Perhaps your meaningful exit like that. Some of you on here may be, running family businesses. Therefore, it's about building your legacy for the future even further and, reaching the stage where you can retire or pass the baton onto the next family member. Before we get too involved in the detail of the steps that we've been talking about, have a little moment to reflect yourself, taking control of time. For you is your meaningful event. Is it a business? Is it something else is it something else? But importantly, what's your time frame? So what I always encourage my clients to do is everything we want to get written down. As soon as we write things down, we write our goals down. In this instance, we write a time frame down. It's going to actually start to be implanted far more on our consciousness. So to take something really useful away as a starting point, write down on a piece of paper, what is your time frame that you're working? This says 2027. It's a 5-year example. And when I was preparing this and I was thinking 2027, that seems like it's going to happen really quickly, right? We're in 23. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas this year and we'll be kind of facing 2024. And if you think about what you would need to do in a 5-year time frame, put in place everything we're about to talk about, get a business that works without you, but also to go and find those potential buyers, go through the due diligence with them, and get to the stage where you've got that offer and all the legals are resolved, and you've got a signed contract and agreement. If we're saying the end of 2027, then all of that's got to be done in that time frame. What's your event? What are you building toward? And what's your time frame? Is that time frame including the transaction of selling and all the process that's involved, or is it the point where you'd like to be starting that sell process? So let's stay, before we go into the foundations and the sales and marketing and systems, let's think a little bit about a typical organization structure. Because the reality today, when I start with the majority of my clients, they are wearing multiple hats. They are responsible for the commercial aspects of the business, winning the business, for doing the business itself, the operations, running the finance potentially as well, collecting the money and collecting the cash. And there can also be, providing all that glue that the business needs as well around the HR and admin, as well as heading up the business, being that general manager, MD. And if that's your position today and your starting point for today, then that's fine. This is not about what the starting point is. It's about the finishing point in a business that works without you. Let's take these typical functions that we've all got as business owners. Let's translate it into an organization chart. So this is a very typical organization chart. We've got the general manager, MD at the top again. We've got an office manager. We've got somebody responsible for marketing, for sales, operations, finance and admin, and people. Fairly typical. So if you don't have an organization chart already, you can take this. It's a structure for any business. But coming back to time, what I want you to do is think about then, within your time frame, what would be a sequence that you could look to get people in place. So in my fictitious example here, this business owner is responsible for all these functions. This business owner is running the business and is running all these activities. Right now, the starting point is this business owner, all these responsibilities. We've got a 5-year time frame. This particular business owner is strong operationally, less so from a people and a marketing and sales perspective. So a good starting point, for example, for this particular might be to go and get that marketing position in place, that marketing. By the way, it doesn't mean necessarily going out and investing in really expensive people. We've got time now to find people and develop them into these roles. You may have some good people already in the team that are doing some of these things that can become these senior people that are going to run the business for you. But all we're trying to do here is say, right, we're building up to 2027. So let's set a goal to actually get one of these key positions in place, here in this example. So in this case, we're going to get the marketing person on board or start developing some this year. We're going to get the office manager person on board doing that as well. Then we're going to get the salesperson on board next year, operations in 2025, the finance admin in 26, and then in 27 we're going to bring on that HR people focused individual. And of course, those latter positions, we are then going to be looking for kind of ready-made people. There's not going to be the time left to develop people. We're kind of bringing people into these roles at that stage. Early positions recruit, we have 4 or 5 years to develop them. And then importantly, by the end of 2027, we want that general manager in place as well. But because we've got some of these early roles coming on board, say the operations, head of operations becomes the ultimate general manager, then the business owner here has 2 years to work with the general manager to get them fully up with running the business. That's why it's important to use the time that you've got available. So we're going to come back to this, but what you've already now got is a time frame. You're clear about an event you're working to regarding exiting your business, and you've already started to assemble how you're going to structure the business and how it's going to look when we're at this point having a business. So then let's move on. Thank you.